Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to episode 13 of season 2 of hashtag LNT. At the beginning of the show, I was just taking a deep breath, inhale from your nose, exhale from your mouth, just a quick routine before we kick off episode 13 of hashtag LNT. Now, tonight, I'm super excited because one of the topics that we have to talk about are the topics that keep us wondering about various different things that are present in this universe. It's a continuation of the previous episode, of course, but we won't say anything until we go into a quick break. Come back to you guys very short. So yesterday we talked about the Creator, who God is. Now, by the way, if you guys missed yesterday's episode, it's too bad. If you care, then you can just go to YouTube or then Facebook. I'm just kidding. Then you actually can just go to YouTube yesterday or Facebook Live. We were live yesterday and today as well, so you can check out the replay on there. Now, basically, we talked about who the Creator is and who God is. So what happens next? What's the next step? What goes on? Now, sometimes when we have those wandering off moments, when we start thinking about philosophical matters, like why did this happen? Where did it happen? How did it happen? And so on and so forth. Now, obviously, not everyone believes in the fact that Allah or God created it all, like life and creation. One of the matters that has been debated ever since its publication is the theory of evolution through natural selection by Charles Darwin in 1859, which is in short states that species change or evolve over time. Now, there are many different ways that species change, but most of them can be described by the idea of natural selection. One very important part of this theory is the understanding of individuals, that individuals cannot evolve. They can only adapt to the environment that surrounds them. Those adaptations add up over time, and eventually the entire species has evolved from what it was like earlier. Now, this can lead to new species forming and also the extinction of older species. Now, on the other side of the table, and based on our religion, this is the creation of God, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God, created everything by His will. The belief that the universe and our life originated from a divine creation. Now, tonight we chose for you guys a very simple question, although it's simple to ask, but yet sometimes it's hard to answer. But inshallah, everyone's knowledgeable, right? Everyone watching hashtag LNT has to be smart. So tonight's question is very easy. Tonight's question is, how did this world come to be? Very simple question. How did this world come to be? The question, or sorry, the number to call in from is +964 774 067 1836, and let us know what you think about tonight's question. How did this world come to be? Let's take a quick break and come back to you guys very short. Quick break, guys. Once again, I welcome you guys to episode 13 of hashtag LNT season 2. Now, tonight before the break, we were just asking the question and giving you some brief introduction on tonight's topic. Now, the question for tonight, you can see it at the bottom. How did this world come to be? Now, yesterday's episode, we talked about God and who is God, who is the Creator, and we provided some very beneficial evidences to those who, disbelieve or have some kind of doubt on the existence of God. You can check out that episode on Facebook, and inshallah, it will be uploaded to YouTube very soon. Now, for tonight, the question is, how did this world come to be? Below the question, you're seeing all the social media platforms for the channel, but the number is shown right there, +964 774 067 1836. Hopefully we get some phone calls in today and some text messages. Oh, I believe we're getting some text messages. All right, so we're starting off good. Now, according to a Gallup poll, nearly 40% of the people in the West believe in evolution. And 24 of them say that, no, they don't believe in this theory. And the remaining 36 just don't know anything or doesn't even know that it actually exists, aka they don't really care. Now, let's begin tonight's topic by mentioning a brief history about the theory of evolution. Now, this is the idea that traits are passed down from parents to offspring. Has been around for many centuries, since the ancient Greek philosophers' time. The late 1700s saw the first theories that species changed over time. Scientists like Comte de Buffon and Charles Darwin's grandfather, Erasmus Darwin, both proposed that species changed over time. But neither man could actually prove that this happened. They also kept their ideas to themselves and not public due to the controversy. Wow, I'm destroying the English language today, so I apologize for that. But due to the topics and the theories controversy, they kept it to themselves and not public. Now, John Baptist Lamarck was the first one to actually publicly say this theory and say that species changed over time. However, part of his theory was incorrect. The fact that Lamarck proposed that acquired traits were passed down to offspring. Now on to the main guy, Charles Darwin, the guy that brought all this up. Evolution, this guy right there, Charles Darwin. Now sometimes called the survival of the fittest, natural selection, was famously explained by Charles Darwin in his book On the Origin of Species. You can check that, it's probably on Amazon as well. Now in this book, Darwin proposed the idea that the individuals with traits more suitable to their environment are more likely or have a high chance for them to survive and reproduce and pass on those desirable traits to their offsprings in the generations to come. If an individual had less favorable traits, basically what would happen is that they would die and then their generations will not continue. AKA the fittest, survival of the fittest, the most fit species to survive in an atmosphere or in an environment. But we just got a text message from now Sayyid Khalil, okay? Sayyid Khalil from Canada. He says, I think that a world before this one existed, and the world we are in right now basically continued the previous one, and it keeps going like that, okay? Thank you very much, Sayyid Khalil. I think his name is Khalil, but I don't know why they would call him Khalil, but thank you very much, Sayyid Khalil, for joining us tonight. Yes, I mean, you can look at it in that way, but there still needs to be more explanation. So I think he was talking about the Big Bang Theory from what happened in between for the transition from the old world to the new one, which we'll get to talk about that very soon, inshallah. Now, as I was mentioning, the fittest, as they call it, we're talking about Charles Darwin explaining the idea of the survival of the fittest in his book, The Origin of the Species. Those with desirable, favorable traits, they get to live on and pass to their offspring these genes, these traits, pass them on to their offsprings. And those who don't possess that, don't pass it on to their offspring. And we'll get to talk about the specific traits in a few seconds as well. Now, one very important part, as I mentioned earlier, is that everything happens through natural selection. The understanding that individuals cannot evolve. However, they can adapt to the environment that's around them. So they can't really evolve, like themselves can't really evolve. But when they adapt, their genes, their traits change and then when they pass it down to their generations, they're going to adapt to that environment as well, which the next generation is going to adapt, and so on and so forth, until they become fully adapted to the environment around them. Now this can lead to new species being formed, and sometimes, and majority of the times, extinction of the older species. Now summary, if we were to summarize Charles Darwin's theory, or Darwin's theory, we would basically say that a species is a population of organisms that interbreeds and then has a fertile offspring. So it's basically like that, which a lot of people do believe that how Darwin presented his theory is that everything began from a monkey, and then later on, when the monkey lived among humans, I think, where did the other humans come from? I don't know, were they monkeys before? And then these guys were late to change into monkey? I really don't know. But the way that they adapted to their environment when there was no humans in that environment, how did they adapt to something that wasn't there? But we'll get to talk about that later on. Now, living organisms have descended with modifications, so to speak. They were suited up. They souped up their genes and their traits. Now, natural selection explains how this evolution has happened. So number one, more organisms are produced than they actually can survive because of the limited resources. Now, when there is limited resources, organisms struggle for the necessities of life. So there's a competition for that limited resource. Now, individuals within a population vary in their traits. You know, the traits that are inherited, or they're sent down through offspring. Now, some variants are better adapted to survive and reproduce under local conditions than others. Say, for example, the tall giraffe versus the short giraffe. The tall giraffe can reach higher places to get food, while the shorter giraffe, as Darwin puts it, can't really reach the food, and no one's going to get at the food, so basically they just starve to death. We'll continue it, but after we read this text message from Sayyid Hashim, okay, from Iraq. Oh wow, hope it's not the hotel owner down there. But Sayyid Hashim from Iraq says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the universe and every living organism in it. Thank you very much, Sayyid Hashim. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. That's basically what creation means. Thank you very much, Sayyid Hashim, for joining us tonight. Now, better adapted individuals, we just continue on from the points that explain how this evolution actually happened. We ended off at the traits better adapted to survive and reproduce under local conditions. Tall giraffe versus short giraffe. Better adapted individuals that fit enough are more likely to survive and reproduce, thereby sending a copy, so to speak, of their offspring or of their traits down to their genes in the next generation. And this is what actually came to being. Now, later on, we find that the majority of people and what they believe in how life came to be, a lot of people do believe in this kind of an idea that evolution, as we've seen, a Gallup poll was done where the majority of people believed in the fact of evolution. Now next, we have the Big Bang Theory, as a lot of people like to refer as the beginning of creation. Everything happened in the Big Bang Theory, which basically says that the universe was created on its own millions of years ago, as you can see right there, millions of years ago. How? By the Big Bang Theory. We're not talking about the show, the TV series. We're talking about the actual Big Bang Theory, where another planet hit Earth, and then a huge explosion like that. Can we have this picture put up again? And then a huge explosion happened, Like, yeah, right there. And then, but how did life came to be? Like they said that millions of years after, no one could live there. So, and then everything happened on its own. But how? Baby doesn't come out of the wall. The baby is reproduced. Actions happen, then the woman gets pregnant, then baby comes out. Babies don't just occur out of nowhere. Even animals just don't hop out of ground and then just, I don't know, I'm not getting into this, but let's take a quick break, come back to you guys very short. One second, we'd welcome everyone joining us tonight. Now, the question for tonight is very simple. We got some very nice opinions and distinct and unique opinions, so to speak, from each other. The question for tonight is very simple, yet sometimes hard to explain. The question, if you think about it, it's very easy, but you have to actually think. The question for tonight: how did this world come to be? The number to text or send us a voice note or call us all through WhatsApp, which is free, and everyone loves free. So why aren't we getting any phone calls? But we just got a text message from Karam from India. Yes, now Karam from India, he says, I believe in the Big Bang Theory and that everything just existed and also evolution as we started to develop and the world is now advanced. Okay, so we got a person that believes in both, which a lot of people do sometimes believe in. Thank you very much, Karam from India, for joining us. Maybe his name is Quran, but maybe Karam. I think that's how. I do apologize if I mispronounce your names, but thank you very much for joining us tonight. Now, he believes in the Big Bang Theory, along with the theory of evolution. Put them together, and then you have the Big Bang evolution theory. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Now, we were talking about the Big Bang Theory. The theory, not the show, the actual theory, which in 1931, this is where it first came as a scientific form instead of just, bits and pieces everywhere. No, in 1931, it came as in a scientific form in a paper by Georges Lemaitre. Georges Lemaitre, a Belgian, this guy right there, cosmologist and a Catholic priest at the same time. Now, the theory accepted by nearly every astronomer today was a radical departure from scientific orthodoxy in the 1930s. Many astronomers at the time were still uncomfortable with the idea that the universe is expanding, that the entire observable universe of galaxies began with a bang, seemed very perpetuous. Now, one question that we sometimes, bring into our mind, everyone right now, they're talking about harmony, they're talking about unity. Can evolution and the fact of creation come together? Now, a lot of people might know or do know the idea or the theory of creation, where God or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created everything from scratch through His will. And then we just explained the evolution of the evolution theory right now. Now, Pope Francis speaks at the Pontifical Academy of Sciences and said that the theories of evolution and the Big Bang Theory are real. Evolution in nature is not inconsistent with the nation of creation, because evolution requires the creation of beings that evolve. So what the Pope Francis, what he's basically saying is that evolution and creation work together to make all of this happen. they work together. Although we don't say that this world came from a Big Bang theory or from a Big Bang or evolution where humans, if they go all the way back, they used to be animals and then they adapted to become humans, or natural selection is somewhat has maybe has some truth to it, as we'll get to read. But if we were to move on, if you see me pause, by the way, I'm not just randomly staring at something. I'm just listening to what Ali Jassim is saying into my ear. Now, let's check out what Islam has to say about the idea. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in chapter 4, verses 54, He says, chapter 7, verses 54, my apologies. He says, Indeed, your Lord is Allah, who created the heavens and earth in 6 days and then established Himself above the throne. He covers the nights with the day, chasing it rapidly, and He created the sun, the moon, and the stars, subjected by His command. Unquestionably, He is, or His is the creation and the command. Blessed is Allah, Lord of the world. So basically, we don't have to focus on all of it. What we're trying to say is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala referred back to the Quran as well as the Old Testament and New Testament, which all of them do mention the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the universe within 6 days. Now, yes, a lot of Christians do believe in the idea of evolution. But if we were to go and look at Isaiah in the Bible, Isaiah chapter 45, verse 12, it says, I have made the earth and created man upon it. Even my hands have stretched out the heavens, and all of the host I command. So basically what's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala trying to say, and back to the theory that some didn't really get to believe the idea that the world is stretching, or in the fact of evolution where humans evolved from something else, the Quran defies it and the Bible defies it. But yet some ideas from the theory of evolution can work hand in hand with creation. But we just got a text message from Muhammad from the USA. Says, true Muslims should know how to answer this question. Allah and no one else created the universe and everything else. Thank you very much, Muhammad from the USA, for joining us tonight and letting us know what you think. Now, I believe we have 2 minutes left till the end of the show. Now, if we were to move on and see how the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam put or answered this in their words. When the Imam Ali, peace and blessings be upon him, when he was in the mosque of Kufa, a Syrian man came up to him and said, O the commander of the faithful, I ask you about the following matters. Number one, tell me about the first creation of God. Imam Ali said to him, Allah created the light. Then the man said, from what did He create the heavens? The Imam replied by saying, from water vapor. Then the man said, from what did He create the land? Then the Imam said, from the foam of water. Then the man said, from what did He create the mountains? Where the Imam replied, from the waves. Then the man said, why was Mecca called al-Qura? The Imam then replied by saying, because the earth came down from under it. So hence, through this idea, if one was to examine the words of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, peace and blessings be upon him, and try to match it with what's going on with science right now, yes, some may differ, but at the end of the day, all the ideas come down to one thing, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that created everything. He's behind it all. Not Charles Darwin, not Big Bang Theory, not some random monkeys, not some giraffes, not whatever. Was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that created the heavens and the earths in 6 days thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully, inshallah, you can join us in the upcoming episodes. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.